During my many years of uploading God of War videos, I have seen a lot of popular questions being repeated again and again. Is Kratos immortal? Who blew the horn? Will we ever go to Egypt? If you type any of these questions in the YouTube search bar, you are guaranteed to find a video attempting to give an answer. But one question I see a lot in my comment sections that's not covered nearly as much is the question regarding the Roman Pantheon. Almost every day, I see a comment asking me about the Roman Pantheon's involvement in the God of War series. Some fans have even proposed some really interesting theories about it, and that's why I wanted to dedicate a full video to it. But before I give my opinion on these theories, I think it's best to start with the most important question. Does the Roman Pantheon even exist in the God of War series? The history behind the Roman Pantheon in the God of War series is complicated, because naturally this question deals with the geography of the God of War universe. And this topic in and of itself is complicated, because if you look closely at past games in the series, you might have noticed that it doesn't have a clear answer. Currently, the view of the God of War universe is that every single mythology exists on the same globe, each one of them simply being divided by geography. As seen in the God of War Fallen God comics, Kratos simply gets on a ship and travels to the Egyptian pantheon. But there's some evidence that tells us this wasn't always the case. I believe originally, Santa Monica saw the Greek pantheon as being the only gods who had control over the entire world. Regions such as Egypt or Scandinavia were simply populated by humans who also worshipped the Greek gods. This view of the universe was most evident in the official novelization of the first God of War game. Here, we read that Ares was spreading terror and destruction on a desolate Egyptian desert. Which means if the world at the time was populated with multiple mythologies, Ares would not make it out of that Egyptian desert alive. Because the moment Ares would step on that desert, he would have been swarmed by equally powerful Egyptian gods ready to defend their realm. But in the novel, Ares commits these crimes without any sort of retribution from the Egyptian gods. Which tells us when the writer of the novel wrote this, he was under the impression that the Greek gods were the only ones who controlled the universe. This is why when you go to Athens, you will see Egyptian hieroglyphs on its walls. Now, I know the first two novels are not the best sources to get your God of War lore, as they are considered secondary canon, meaning that if something in the novels goes against what the games say, the games become the final authority on the matter. But in the case of the Greek gods being the only ones in control of the universe, God of War 1 does not go against this view. In fact, it supports the idea. And of course, I'm referring to the infamous ending of the game, where not only do you see Kratos becoming the God of War over the Greek realm, but the entire world as well. In fact, the novel I was talking about just a minute ago expands upon this scene by informing the reader that Kratos saw visions of Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon, which indicates that the Roman Pantheon didn't really exist. But I don't think this view of the God of War universe stayed canon for too long. I'm sure after the success of the first God of War game, Santa Monica started to think on how to bring other mythologies into the mix. The most famous example of this being David Jaffe's original take on the ending of the trilogy, which saw Kratos fighting through multiple pantheons until humanity was finally freed from the gods. But even still, I can't say for sure that Santa Monica had a fixed vision for the God of War universe. As late as God of War Ascension, you can see hints that the gods of Olympus were the only gods in the universe. Think about it. Why would someone from Egypt travel all the way to Greece seeking knowledge from the Oracle when they had a realm full of other powerful beings capable of doing similar things? Another example of this can be found in God of War 3, which directly speaks to the topic of the Roman gods. Have you noticed that Hercules' name is misspelled? The name Hercules is from Roman mythology, while his Greek counterpart is named Heracles. And yeah, I know this isn't the most solid proof for this view of the universe, as both Heracles and Hercules are the same character with slightly different names. But you have to agree that Hercules' helmet looks suspiciously Roman. And if this still isn't enough for you, I suggest you go and watch the Lost Levels of God of War 2, which shows a Colosseum level cut from the game. All of these tiny details hint that at one point Santa Monica thought of the Greek and Roman pantheons as being one and the same, very similar to how we view them in real life. But is this the current lore of the series? The answer is obviously no, but it still isn't very clear. With the release of God of War 2018, the lore surrounding the world of God of War became more established. The gods of Olympus were not the only gods in town. The entire world was populated with other pantheons just like theirs. If you traveled to Egypt, you would find the Egyptian gods. And if you traveled to Scandinavian, well, you would find the Norse gods. But do we know for a fact that the Roman gods are one of these existing pantheons in the God of War universe? The quick and simple answer is yes, but it's still somewhat complicated. If you make your way to Tyr's temple, you will find all sorts of objects and trinkets that come from many different regions of the world. Among these items, if you look long enough, you will find a coin with the face of a very important historical figure, the second Roman Emperor, Tiberius Caesar. This should be enough to say the Roman Pantheon does exist. But here comes the problem. Are we ready to say the Roman Pantheon in the God of War universe is already being ruled by Roman emperors? The God of War series has never been known for its take on historical events. Sure, there have been some historical figures featured in their games, such as Archimedes, but never anyone as big as the Roman Emperor. Because I think if Santa Monica starts adding big historical figures such as the Roman emperors, this series will start to lose its identity. Sure, the series is about Kratos, but a big appeal of the series is also Santa Monica's interpretation of the mythologies. After all, this is God of War, not Assassin's Creed. So where does that leave us? Does the Roman Pantheon exist or not? I still think the answer is yes, because the coin in every object in Tyr's temple is something I consider kinda lore. Meaning that yes, every object you see here did come from another pantheon, but the tiny details of those objects are not meant to be taken completely seriously. Otherwise, you would end up with stupid videos such as this guy's Antikythera mechanism video. Man, I sure hope this guy isn't making videos anymore. So while this coin does not confirm Tiberius Caesar in the God of War universe, it does confirm the existence of the Roman Pantheon. So theoretically speaking, if Kratos or Atreus were to return to Greece, they could be created by the presence of Jupiter and the might of the Roman Empire. Which would be interesting as this is what happened in history. But another, and in my opinion more interesting theory, is that the humans who survived the events of God of War 3 eventually became the Roman gods. Having to prove this theory is going to be difficult at this time, since we've only seen one image of the Greek realm being rebuilt without any context. We don't know if the realm is under the management of some surviving Greek gods, the humans, or in this case, another pantheon entirely. We simply don't know what's going on with the Greek realm at this time. However, soon after God of War 3 was released, Stig Asmussen was already hinting where he saw the series going next. And it turns out that he might have left a big clue in God of War 3 itself that might support this theory. In an interview with Cinema Blend, Stig Asmussen said the following: "We kept the Blade of Olympus around as well. We've got ideas of things we could do with that. Maybe there's some powers contained within the Blade of Olympus. Maybe there's a little piece of Kratos that's still inside there. There's a couple of different tools we could use, and there's definitely room to expand on things." If you've been playing the God of War series since day one, you might know that the Blade of Olympus powers are not entirely clear. But thanks to context clues and things mentioned in the novel as well, we can at least say that the Blade of Olympus has the ability to store godly powers. So it's possible that after the events of God of War 3, some humans came across all of Kratos' weapons. Weapons such as the Nemean Cestus or the Nemesis Whip were broken beyond repair. But the moment one of these humans picked up the Blade of Olympus, it's possible something interesting happened. The Blade of Olympus might have begun to glow with power again. But how can this be? Humans don't have any godly powers to wield such a weapon. Well, initially they didn't, but in the ending of God of War 3, we learned that Kratos gave humans the power of hope. We still don't know how this power could have affected the humans of the Greek realm, but it's possible they were able to extract this power and use it as they saw fit. One thing they could have done is use the god's power as energy to power their new civilization. Or in the case of this theory, become gods themselves. And because the Greek gods were the only gods these humans knew about, they would have copied their powers instead of creating new ones. A human by the name of Neptune might have taken dominion of the seas. Another human by the name of Pluto took the immense responsibility of becoming the ruler of the underworld. And of course, a human by the name of Jupiter was appointed to become the new king of the gods. The reason I like this theory so much is because it would be the God of War series' way of giving an explanation as to why the Greek and Roman pantheons look so similar. In our world, it's because the Romans simply copied their culture. But in the God of War universe, it might have been because the Greek people needed gods to maintain order in the universe, as well as protect them from outside threats. So naturally, the surviving humans appointed those humans that were the most worthy to become their new gods, giving birth to the Roman Pantheon as we know it today. I gotta say, I have made a lot of theories in the past, but this is one of those theories that I wish would come true in the future somehow. But what I think doesn't matter. What do you think? Is it possible the Roman Pantheon exists? If it does, could it have come as a result of Greek humans extracting godly powers from the Blade of Olympus? Whatever your thoughts and theories are, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. As always, I want to give a big thanks to all of my members for supporting the channel monthly. People like Yippee Omega Fantasy, Satam Gaming, Lucifer Morningstar, Sean Glyden, Rust MDG, and Mac Loving, to name a few, are my favorite people in the entire world. I may love my wife, but you guys support my burrito addiction. And also support the channel, of course. Nah, in all seriousness, I do thank you guys. I really do appreciate the help. I would also like to thank everyone who likes and shares my videos. I know it doesn't seem like much, but hey, trust me, it really does help. And with that said, thanks for watching. And remember, go forth in the name of the Roman Pantheon.